Um, Imagine your childhood friend begging you to save his son from a corrupt police force just because he heard you had dinner with a powerful local politician.
Right.
Do you step in and cross the line of your own principles, or do you turn your back on a starving family?
I mean, it is the ultimate moral trap, a
Yeah.
situation where doing the supposedly right thing for a friend might mean completely compromising the values you've built your entire life around.
Yeah.
You're putting your very identity on the line.
We are getting deep into that exact scenario today. But before we dive in, a massive and warm welcome to you, the listener, tuning into the Simplified Summary YouTube channel.
Welcome, everyone.
We are so thrilled to have you here. If you enjoy unpacking these complex narratives with us and getting a real comprehensive understanding of classic texts, we humbly ask that you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop your valuable thoughts in the comment section below.
It really does help.
It helps the channel grow and lets us keep bringing you these deep dives.
It truly makes a difference. And, reading your perspectives on the dilemmas we discuss is always a highlight for us.
Absolutely. So the mission for today's deep dive is to explore the classic short story Muft Ka Yash, which translates to Free Fame or Unearned Glory.
Such a great title.
Right. It's a brilliant piece from the celebrated Mansarovar collection by the legendary Indian author Munshi Premchand.
A master of his craft.
Our sources today are original text excerpts from the story itself. And I'm really looking forward to unpacking this one because on the surface, it looks like a story about a favor between friends.
Mm-hmm.
But the text seems to hint at some massive socio-political dynamics regarding colonial-era India.
Premchand is unparalleled when it comes to holding a mirror up to society. He doesn't just write individual characters, he writes entire systemic flaws disguised as everyday interactions.
Yeah.
This story in particular serves as a perfect lens through which to view the immense, often invisible weight of perceived power.
And the bureaucracy, right?
Exactly. The suffocating bureaucracy of the British Raj and the sheer human desperation that system created.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the opening scene sets the historical and emotional tone so perfectly. The story kicks off not with the main plot, but with a lively, almost gossipy discussion among a group of friends.
Setting the stage.
Yeah, they are talking about the sheer, unchecked arrogance of Indian officers who were serving under British colonial rule.
Right.
To illustrate this, one of the friends shares an anecdote about a father-in-law that is both darkly hilarious and deeply disturbing.
The Father-in-law Anecdote is a brilliant piece of narrative framing. It establishes the baseline reality of the world these characters inhabit before we even meet the main conflict.
So an officer goes to his in-laws' house with a simple goal. He wants to bring his wife back home to his residence.
Standard enough.
Right. But the father-in-law politely asks if the daughter can perhaps stay with them for 6 more months.
Which is a normal request.
Exactly. And the wife, clearly not wanting to face her husband directly, sends a message via the household maid agreeing that she isn't quite ready to leave her parents yet.
Standard family dynamics at play here.
This sounds like fairly normal family friction. But this officer becomes absolutely furious. He storms out, rides off on his horse in a rage, and get this, the very next day, he uses his official state-sanctioned power to issue a formal legal court summons against his own father-in-law.
Wow. What's fascinating here is how this single, seemingly absurd incident perfectly encapsulates the weaponization of bureaucratic power during the colonial era.
Yeah, it's wild.
We are looking at a system where authority is completely untethered from responsibility or morality. The officer doesn't view this as a domestic disagreement.
No, he takes it way further.
He views it as insubordination against the state, because in his mind, he represents the state.
He essentially turns a family dispute into a criminal offense just because his feelings were hurt.
Precisely.
It is the ultimate petty flex, but with devastating real-world consequences.
The immediate reaction of the father-in-law tells us everything we need to know about the power dynamic. The poor, terrified man who was just trying to keep his daughter home a bit longer immediately packs her up and brings her to the officer.
Just to save himself.
To save himself from legal and financial ruin. And the text uses a very specific cultural phrase here, Afsari Ki Shaan, which translates to the pride or the arrogant glory of the officer.
That phrase seems to be the driving force behind the behavior of every official mentioned in the early parts of the text.
It absolutely is. This Afsari Ki Shaan completely blinds these individuals to basic human decency. You have to look at the psychology of a colonized nation.
Right.
When you are a subjugated people, but you are handed a tiny sliver of absolute power over your fellow common man, backed by a massive colonial regime that demands total submission, every personal slight feels like an act of treason.
So they punch down.
Exactly. The officers are compensating for their own lack of power in the broader British Empire by acting like tyrants in their own local spheres.
It paints such a vivid picture of the psychological paralysis of the average citizen back then. You were constantly walking on eggshells, even around your own family members if they held a government post.
Especially around family.
And if that is how a minor officer behaves, it makes the actual authority figures seem terrifying. Which brings us perfectly to the narrator of our story. He's a writer, an intellectual, living a pretty simple, impoverished lifestyle.
Right.
And his friends explicitly warn him about a specific looming figure in their town, the Hakim Zila or the District Magistrate.
To understand the narrator's situation, we have to understand the role of the Hakim Zila during the British Raj. This wasn't just a judge or a mayor.
They were much more than that.
The district magistrate held administrative, executive, and judicial powers all rolled into one. They collected the revenue, they commanded the police, and they passed the verdicts.
That's a lot of power for one person.
To a commoner or even a respected writer, this person was basically an untouchable local king.
The narrator's friends are terrified for him. They warn him, saying, look, if you write any rebellious story or article, you will be arrested instantly.
No trial needed.
This magistrate won't show you an ounce of leniency. They paint this official as a ruthless, unfeeling machine of the colonial state waiting to crush any dissent.
A monster, essentially.
But despite these dire warnings, the narrator actually accepts a personal invitation to visit the district magistrate for dinner. His friends think he has lost his mind.
Of course they do.
They assume the magistrate is simply bringing him there to mock his shabby clothes and his poor lifestyle.
It's a classic setup of expectation versus reality, designed to put the reader in the narrator's anxious headspace.
Yeah.
The narrator walks into the lion's den bracing for humiliation. He expects to face the ultimate manifestation of that Afsari Ki Shaan we just talked about.
But that's not what happens.
Not at all. When he arrives at the magistrate's opulent residence, the tension completely subverts itself. Surprisingly, he finds the magistrate to be incredibly affectionate, welcoming, and generous.
The text notes that the magistrate treats him with profound respect. It completely masks all that authoritative pride and gives the narrator absolutely no reason to complain or feel belittled.
The magistrate's politeness is actually a softer, much more insidious form of power.
How so?
It disarms the narrator completely. Think about it. When a monster acts like a monster, it's easy to fight them, write about them, critique them.
Does that make sense?
But when the person you are prepared to hate offers you a comfortable chair, serves you a beautiful meal, and praises your intellectual writing, your guard drops.
That psychological shift is so relatable, even outside of a colonial context. If you, the listener, build up a terrifying image of someone in authority, say, a new boss, and then they turn out to be gracious and charming in person, it really messes with your head. You leave feeling a sense of validation.
The writer leaves that dinner feeling an unacknowledged pride. This incredibly powerful man who holds the fate of the district in his hands treated him as an equal. That subtle intoxication of being close to power is crucial for what happens next. It softens the narrator's ideological edge just enough to make him vulnerable.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Just when the narrator is likely still digesting that fancy dinner and his complicated new feelings about the magistrate, reality comes crashing through his front door.
A harsh reality.
A ghost from his past unexpectedly arrives. It's a childhood friend named Baldev.
Baldev's arrival shatters the quiet, intellectual bubble the narrator has been living in. He represents the gritty, harsh reality of the common man's existence under the very system the magistrate controls.
Their backstory is actually quite touching, and it establishes a heavy emotional debt. Baldev considers the narrator his guru.
Right, from their school days.
Yeah, during their school days, the narrator tutored Baldev. Baldev humbly and a bit self-deprecatingly calls himself a donkey who is magically taught just enough by the narrator to successfully manage his zamindari work.
We should clarify the weight of that term, zamindari, for our listener.
Please do.
A zamindar was a wealthy, land-owning aristocrat. They collected taxes from peasants and held significant social status. The fact that Baldev is a zamindar is vital to the plot.
Because it shows his rank.
It shows that even a man of wealth and local standing is utterly helpless when faced with the machinery of the colonial police. If a zamindar is terrified, A regular peasant has absolutely no hope.
Baldev hasn't come for a nostalgic social visit. He speaks with a heavy, distressed voice. His son has been framed in a fake criminal case and has been locked up in police custody for a week.
This brings us crashing back to the brutal reality of the local authorities. Baldev reveals the systemic corruption at play, specifically between the local deputy, a man named Muhammad Khalif, and the police daroga.
And the daroga is a big deal.
Very big. The daroga isn't just a beat cop, he is the all-powerful inspector in charge of the local police station. He holds the power to make or break lives on a whim.
The text uses a brilliant cultural idiom to describe the relationship between the deputy and the daroga. It says they have a Dankati roti relationship,
What a great phrase.
which literally translates to sharing the same bitten bread.
It's an intimacy built on shared secrets and shared spoils. They operate as a unified front of corruption. Because of this corrupt alliance, Baldev's son isn't just facing a misunderstanding.
He's doomed.
He is trapped in a rigged system. A harsh punishment is practically guaranteed, not because the son is guilty of anything, but because the machinery of the local police demands a victim to justify their power, or more likely, to extract a massive bribe from a wealthy zamindar family.
For a family with that kind of status, the physical punishment of jail time is only half the terror.
The social aspect is worse.
Exactly, the public humiliation. Having the family's honor dragged through the mud is a social death sentence. It's a nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
And Baldev knows exactly what he needs to make it go away. Word travels fast in these districts, and Baldev knows the narrator just had a private dinner with the terrifying district magistrate.
The perceived proximity to power becomes a lifeline for the desperate.
Baldev begs the narrator to use this brand new connection. He's not asking the narrator to break the law or smuggle his son out of jail.
No, nothing dramatic like that.
He just wants the narrator to go to the magistrate, mention that they're friends, tell him the local police case is completely fake, and ask for a personal, fair investigation.
On paper, to a modern ear, it sounds like a relatively small favor. Just a whisper in the right ear to ensure justice is done.
Right, just a quick chat.
But philosophically, socially, and morally, it is a massive, earth-shattering ask for the narrator.
Baldev leans heavily into the emotional weight of the scene, essentially getting on his knees and pleading with the narrator not to say no. He describes the sheer devastation back at his house.
It's heartbreaking.
His son's mother is crying her heart out. The daughter-in-law has completely stopped eating and drinking, and here's the detail that just punches you in the gut. Baldev says the household stove hasn't been lit in 7 days.
The unlit stove is one of the most powerful cultural symbols Premchand employs in this text.
What does it signify exactly?
In rural India, an unlit stove signifies a household in deep, paralyzing mourning. It effectively equates the son's incarceration with a literal death in the family. A week without cooking, without warmth, is pure consuming grief.
Wow.
It highlights the life or death stakes for Baldev. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the agonizing internal dilemma this creates for the narrator.
Because the narrator isn't just a guy who happens to know a powerful politician. His entire public persona is built on being the opposition.
The text explicitly notes that the narrator is known in his community as an intellectual who fights for the public. His identity is intertwined with the concept of Praja Ki Ladai, the fight of the common people against this very oppressive colonial system.
He's the voice of the people.
He writes about the injustice, he critiques the bureaucracy. If he suddenly starts using backdoor connections and whispering in the ears of powerful government officials to get favors for his wealthy friends, he becomes a hypocrite.
He'd lose all credibility.
He risks falling entirely in the eyes of the public. And more importantly, his own conscience is compromised.
He would essentially be joining the Dankati Roti Club, just operating at a higher, more sophisticated level.
By utilizing his supposed influence, he validates the corrupt system. He admits that justice isn't about truth or the law, it's simply about who you know and who you can have dinner with.
But on the other hand,
if he refuses to help, he allows his mentor-like relationship with Baldev to mean nothing. He allows a friend's son to be destroyed by the corrupt daroga, and he turns his back on a family literally starving themselves in grief. It is an excruciating ethical bind.
I keep thinking about the title of the story, Muft Ka Yash, or Unearned Glory. Up to this point, the narrator hasn't received any glory. He's just incredibly stressed out and paralyzed by this choice. So what does this all mean? Where does the unearned part actually come into play?
This is where Premchand's genius really shines, and where the deep psychological irony of the story reveals itself. The narrator is agonizing over the morality of spending his immense political capital with the magistrate.
Yeah. But the bitter truth is, he doesn't actually have any influence to spend.
Wait, he doesn't have any power at all.
Think about the reality of the situation. He had one polite dinner. The magistrate was charming and praised his writing, yes.
Okay, sure.
But that does not mean the absolute ruler of the district is going to bypass his entire police force, undermine his deputy and his daroga, just because a poor writer he had over for dinner one time asked him to.
Oh, wow. Didn't even think about it like that.
The narrator has gained this massive reputation as a powerful power broker simply by being seen dining with a powerful man.
The desperate commoners, like Baldev, are projecting their own hopes and this massive power onto him.
Exactly. The narrator has acquired Muft Ka Yash, a completely unearned aura of authority. It's an illusion of power created by the desperation of the powerless.
That reframes the entire conflict. It's not just a moral dilemma. It's a dilemma built on severe imposter syndrome and an illusion. He's agonizing over spending political capital that he doesn't even possess.
He just had some soup and polite conversation, and suddenly the whole town thinks he holds the keys to the jailhouse.
And that illusion is the true tragedy of a deeply unequal, colonized society. When people are utterly powerless, they will ascribe godlike power to anyone who even brushes shoulders with the elite.
Because they need someone to save them.
The narrator realizes he is trapped by the town's perception of him just as much as he is by his own moral code. If he goes to the magistrate and gets laughed out of the room, which is highly likely, his illusion of power shatters and he is humiliated.
But if he doesn't go?
If he refuses to go, citing his morals, he looks like a heartless, arrogant elitist who abandoned his roots the second he got a taste of high society.
He is completely boxed in by his own newly acquired unearned glory. It's a brilliant, agonizing catch-22 that perfectly captures the psychological torment of the era.
Let's zoom out and summarize the core takeaways from these incredible sources, because Premchand has really taken us on a journey today.
He really has. First, he masterfully paints this vivid, suffocating picture of colonial-era Indian bureaucracy. It wasn't just about harsh laws. It was about the psychology of the Afsari Ki Shaan, the unchecked pride that let minor officials treat citizens like personal property to compensate for their own subjugation.
Second, the text highlights the terrifying helplessness of the common man, regardless of their wealth. When the local police, like the deputy and the daroga, share that Dankati roti, the objective truth doesn't matter.
You're just done.
You are at the mercy of their whims. As we saw with the chilling image of Baldev's unlit stove, the collateral damage to the mental and physical health of families is devastating.
And finally, he gives us this incredibly complex moral and psychological dilemma faced by the intellectual class. What happens when the person who fights for the people gets a taste of proximity to power? And more importantly, the paralyzing realization that the public's perception of your power is vastly different from reality.
It's a profound exploration of human psychology and social dynamics, and this raises an important question, one I'd love to leave you, our listener, to mull over.
Go for it.
We've been talking about the colonial era, but the fundamental mechanics of human nature haven't changed. Think about today's highly connected world of social media, digital networking, and clout chasing.
Oh, that's interesting.
How much of the influence we perceive in others, or even the influence we claim for ourselves, is just modern-day Muft Ka Yash?
That is a fascinating parallel.
How much of someone's reputation as a thought leader or an influencer is completely unearned glory, based purely on a well-timed photo op or who they are seen having dinner with online? Are we, as a modern society, still just as desperate as Baldev to believe that someone, anyone, has the insider connection to save us?
The illusion of proximity to power is just as potent today on a timeline as it was a century ago in a village square. What an incredible text and a deeply insightful breakdown. Thank you for walking us through the historical and psychological depths of this story.
It was a pleasure.
And to you, our listener, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Before we go, a final reminder. If you loved this comprehensive summary and analysis, please subscribe to the Simplified Summary YouTube channel. Drop a like on this video to help the algorithm share it with other curious minds, and most importantly, head down to the comment section and share your valuable thoughts.
We want to hear from you.
We really want to know. Put yourself in the narrator's shoes. Would you have tried to use your supposed unearned influence to help Baldev's son, knowing it compromised your public fight for justice and risked humiliating you? Or would you have stayed out of it to maintain your principles, even as your friend's family starved? Let us know. Until next time, keep reading, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.